Behind me is my car collection. Those of people who've been watching my videos have often spotted random cars behind me and asked about them. So I thought it's about time I did a bit of an intro about what cars I've got in my collection and why I've got them. So here we go. So starting with the Ferrari 360. It's a year 2000, totally standard, totally original, beautiful car. It's a car that really I've always wanted, and in that sort of era, 2000-ish, I was lucky enough to be working at Silverstone and various other racetracks, sort of instructing and things like that. And Ferrari 360 was just such a great car. The 355 before it was also sort of on the bucket list, really, but that was the first sort of Ferrari that I felt that you could jump in and drive, not exactly daily, but regularly. Then the 360 came out and it just elevated it further. What I love about this car is it is just very pure to drive. It's manual, which is a massive bonus. It's a real driving experience. It's got very minimal electronics on it, so it's a real sort of engaging drive, yet it's very mechanically sound. This is when Ferrari were starting to really pull their finger out and build quality, sort of reliable vehicles. So this is the 360. I bought this top end a couple of years ago, top end of the market, from Joe Macari. It has got a full service history with the same dealer. It'd only done 14,600 miles, so it really was peak what I could find. There was plenty at the time. There were plenty of 360s for a lot less money than this one. This was £82,000. There was, plenty that were much less than that, but just wasn't sure of the history. And I know that with Joe Macari's reputation, he'd only sell you a car that's, that they'd back it up. And sure enough, they did actually, because the air conditioning didn't work when I got it. So, it was no problem. Just I took it back and they solved it. Actually, just needed regassing. So, really pleased with this car. Probably, is it my favourite? I don't know. I mean, they're all very different. Pure driving, this is just fantastic. I've been to Portugal in it twice. It's now done 28,000 miles, so I've been whacking the mileage on in the last couple of years because I like to drive these cars. That's why I buy them. As I mentioned, it's completely standard, so it's got the original piece at the back. A lot of these have been changed to the Stradale type, which is I've got the holes in the grille. I actually prefer this. I don't know why people change them. Personally, I think they look great as they are, all colour-coded. The interior is black and red, which is just magnificent. It really is a superb bit of kit. Next car is a Porsche 911. It's a 997.2, I think is the description. It's got a DSG gearbox. I've had this for 4 years. I bought it from a dealer, main dealer, like a Sytner, and it was my first kind of foray into Porsche. I always wanted a 911, and I must say this is not disappointed. When I first bought it, I didn't even test drive it. I just went to the garage, knowing it's Sytner, you kind of know that they're going to give you something decent, and if there's any problems you can go back, get it sorted. So got 45,000 miles on the clock. It's a 2010, and the first time I got in it I was really nervous because I thought I'm going to get really disappointed because it's just not going to live up to the expectations, but actually it 100% did straight away. So it's now done 105,000 miles, so I've done a lot of miles in it because it was my daily for quite a few years, going to work and back. And what's beautiful about this car is it is, as people say, you can use it every day of the week, winter, summer, it doesn't matter, it does everything. If it's a bit slushy on the road, it's still got traction. Before this car I had a couple of previous cars before this. I had a Mercedes C63, which was an awesome bit of kit. but it's got no traction at all compared to this thing. This thing is just got it naturally because of that engine at the back. And once you've learned to drive them a little bit differently, because obviously having all that weight at the back, once you've adapted your driving style a little bit, they're just brilliant. So that was my first Porsche, and I'm going to struggle to sell that ever, because I just love it. And even sometimes I forget, because I don't use it so much now, and sometimes I think, oh well, you know, maybe that one's the one to go if I need to sell one. And then I drive and I think, no, can't be done, can't sell it. So that's my 911. Next one, this is my old 911. This is the barn find from just literally a mile away from here. And that, hopefully you know the story. If you don't know the story, go back to my playlist on that car. And that car has been one hell of a project, but we are getting there now, and I can actually use it whenever I want now, because it's a full-on driver, although there are some more mechanical bits to do, which means it's going to be in the garage getting fixed occasionally, but I'll show you that in some videos as we go through. That thing though has been exceptional, and when I do get to drive it, which has been recently, it's incredible to drive. Really does corner well, stops well, accelerates well. Again, for that age, brilliant. So that's one of those cars that, again, how do you sell a car like that? Because I just love it too much. Okay, next on the list is the Z4, which again I've been YouTubing about, so hopefully you've seen a little bit about this car. The reason I bought this car was because a friend of mine and I wanted to do a road trip in a car that was less than £5,000 that we liked. He wanted to go in a Mazda MX-5. I wanted to go into something else. So at the beginning of the BMW playlist, you'll see that why I chose this car, but I'd never actually owned a BMW before this, so it's a new experience for me. It's 20 years old, and I think it just looks amazing for 20 years old. The styling of this, for me, has aged really, really well. Done lots and lots to it, as you can see in the videos, but I just think that thing now, it owes me sort of 5,000 quid. It's probably worth a bit less, but it's a cracking car, and especially when the sun shines occasionally in the UK, what more do you need? It's brilliant. It's 3 litre manual, obviously. Great driver's car, as they always say with BMW. In this country it's a little bit rough because the potholes and things like that, it doesn't like potholes, but that's a BMW thing and an English thing. That's the only negative to the way this thing drives, but that's the same with all BMWs when I've ever driven them. I've just only owned one myself, but I've driven lots. So a car that I love, and I guess that is a car that I'd probably sell at some point. But again, it's only worth, well, less than £5,000, so kind of doesn't feel worth it, does it? A car that's not been on the channel much, or at all in fact, is this S-Class. This is a 1986-87 S500. This one I absolutely love. I've only actually had it for about 2 or 3 weeks. I've owned it for about 6-7 months. I bought this off a friend 25 years ago or more. He bought it off his father, and I remember cruising around with my friend in this car in the countryside having great times. So it came to a point where he was going to sell it, because he's also a bit of a car collector and he needed to downsize his collection. He had other cars that also meant a lot to him, so one had to go. And when we discussed it, I said, well, perfect, I'll have that. And it's absolutely mega. Mechanically, it's really sound. It doesn't need any restoration as such, just needs maintenance as you go. But the guy I bought this from, he is sort of a Mercedes man through and through. He's worked for Mercedes. He really understands these cars. So maintenance-wise, it's been maintained perfectly. So it doesn't really require anything. Just little bits and bobs as and when they go wrong. But he was saying actually the air conditioning in this car he's never touched, and it still blasts out cold air. So that's very unusual. Now I've said that, it probably will break, but hey, it's an old car, so you've got to expect these things. Sure enough, The day after, looks what's happened. So this belt goes around here and onto the air conditioning pump. The sort of tensioner sits on there. Obviously the bearing's dried out and it's just cut itself loose, so the air conditioner no longer works. However, it's quite a simple fix. I've ordered a new one on eBay, well, a new old one, or restored one. So I'll put that on. Shouldn't be too much of a job, and ready to go again. Next car on the list is this Range Rover L322. This car I bought about a year ago now. I don't know why I bought it, really. I think I'd seen the Clarkson thing in the Harry's garage, and I was like, oh, that'd be a great car to have. But also at the time I was thinking, I need, you know, should I get a camper van or something like that? And I couldn't justify getting a camper van. They're massive money, and you know, you're not going to use it most of the time. So actually I started exploring different options, and one of which was the roof tent here. So I basically looked around for an L322, found this one. It was £13,000. It had done 95,000 miles. It only had 2 owners, which for me is really important on a car like this when they're really expensive to run. If it's had 10 owners, then you know that they've probably sold it when it needed a service rather than fixing it. So I got this car. It wasn't perfect. It cost me about 1,500 quid to get it bang on, so there's a few knocks and things on the suspension, needing new brake pads and discs, but that's about it. Since then, yes, there's been my fair share of maintenance on it. Currently the air conditioning sort of works. It's either full whack or not at all. I've got it booked into a specialist. I don't tend to do anything on this on my own. It's just too big and cumbersome. It's had, you know, a dodgy fuel gauge. It's had the blower motor packed up. Yeah, it's had various things on the suspension which have rattled and needed replacing. So it's not a car to get if you don't want to do any maintenance, obviously. But for a Range Rover, this is probably the sort of most reliable one of them, I think. As we all know, they're not known for their reliability. It still gets warning lights on it, random, but it drives fine. I love it. I've been to Italy in it, skiing. Been to France skiing. Been to Italy camping, and that pop-up tent goes up. You can put your stove on the back. You know, pull the boot lid down, put your stove on there. You can tow anything with it. It is awesome. It's the 4.4 litre diesel. Yeah, what more can I say? It's brilliant. Okay, second to last car. Ford Ranger. Nothing much to say on this. This one I bought brand new. This is before I started the sort of collection, if you like. I didn't even have the Porsche when I bought this one in 2017, I think. But I used to do it racing of cars, and this thing was just the ticket. Put your tools in the back, tows really well, drive on a daily basis. We've kept that because it's just in such good condition. We've got dogs. They can go in the back, come rain or shine. So we've just kept it. It's not worth selling for now anyway. But it's a brilliant bit of kit. It's a 3.2 litre diesel, automatic, limited, and I love it. Just before I get to this one, because there is one that's not here, I've got a Volkswagen Beetle, not particularly historic. It's 1985. I bought it, I've got to be honest, I bought it on eBay. I had a few beers one night. I think I was watching Wheeler Dealer or Carrara S or something like that. And it was kind of early lockdown, I reckon. Anyway, of course I bid on it, won it, and then when I was allowed to go and collect it, went and collected it. So it's one of those, and it was a bit of a can of worms, to be honest. It was a total rust bucket. So that's been completely restored. I'll show you that another time, but it's not here. It's in a friend's garage, and it's behind a load of stuff, so it was too much to get it out. So I'll show you that another day. But last car is the SL500, which I featured on the channel. got a lot to do on that. Some welding and some bits and bobs to do with engine. I've just put in some brakes on it, which I'll show you in a video. But that's a great car. I'm looking forward to some good road trips in that. Before I took it to bits, it was running okay. And yeah, I mean, motorway driving, it goes like a rocket. It's just a bit rough around the edges, so that's what I'm going to fix, and that's what's going to be shown on the channel in due course. So that's my car collection. It's a bit weird, a bit random. There's a lot of cars, a lot of low value cars as well. And you kind of think, well, if I just chucked it all together, sold everything, I could buy, you know, one mega Ferrari or something. But I really enjoy the differences between these cars. It really, when I think about selling any of them, I just think of times when I've really enjoyed driving them, or actually it makes me want to drive it again. And I do drive all the cars regularly, some more than others, obviously. The Ferrari doesn't get much use in the winter because I don't want to wreck it. But that gets nice big road trips in the summer. The Z4 gets all year round use. That's quite a daily driver, as is this S-Class now. I've started to use that a lot and I really enjoy that. The Range Rover obviously is a brilliant all year round. That is kind of my daily in the winter for definite, but also I'm going to do some camping trips and things. The Porsche 997 is the one that's kind of on the side at the moment. I don't use it that much. I did do a really good road trip to France in it at the end of last year in the sort of winter, because again it's just a great performance car to drive all year round. Obviously the white Porsche, I'm definitely going to do a road trip with that this year. Once I've just finished those mechanical bits and bobs that I need to do, that definitely needs a good road trip. I might start off with a smaller one, maybe Wales or Scotland, and then do something abroad. Be nice to take it back to Germany and maybe do the Nürburgring or something like that. I don't know. I've never been to the Nürburgring, so that'd be cool. So that's my cars. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.